Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Breaking news. Doctor finally drops Oates accident report, boat in tears, fans fear the worst, police car's revolving light. The silence has finally been broken. After days of speculation, worry, and unanswered questions, doctors at the Central Hospital have officially released their report on the tragic accident involving beloved star Oates. But instead of bringing relief, the report has unleashed a storm of fear, heartbreak, and grief across the world. For hours leading up to the press conference, fans filled the hospital grounds, holding candles and banners, chanting Oates' name in desperate hope for good news. Inside, reporters sat stiffly, cameras ready, the air thick with tension. And then the moment came. The doctor stepped forward, holding the report that would change everything. Hospital, the doctor speaks. With his hands trembling slightly, the hospital's chief surgeon looked up from the document and addressed the crowd. His voice was low, heavy with sorrow. Oates sustained injuries of the highest severity in the accident. His body is stable, but the damage is permanent. We can confirm he is alive, but his ability to walk is gone forever. For a moment, there was silence. Then gasps, cries, and shouts erupted from the crowd. Reporters froze mid-question. Fans outside who were watching the announcement live screamed in disbelief, some falling to their knees. Online platforms lit up instantly with messages like, "Is he really gone? Is he dead? And please say it's not true." The words "he is alive" offered a thin ray of relief, but the devastation that followed left many wondering if Oates would ever be the same again. Loudly crying face, boat in tears. The most heartbreaking reaction came from Boat, Oates' closest companion, who had been sitting quietly beside Oates' family throughout the briefing. Witnesses say his face was pale from the start, but when the doctor read the final line of the report, his composure shattered. Tears streamed down his cheeks as he buried his face in his hands. At one point, Boat stood, pacing back and forth, whispering repeatedly, "Why him? Why Oates?" Unable to contain his grief, he collapsed into his chair again, sobbing openly in front of the cameras. "He cried like his world had ended," said one reporter. It wasn't just sadness, it was the sound of a heart breaking in real time. Globe showing Europe-Africa fans react worldwide. Fans outside the hospital, many of whom had been holding vigils for days, were equally shaken. Some screamed Oates' name through the gates. Others collapsed in tears, hugging strangers for comfort. The chants of "Stay Strong Oates" grew louder, echoing through the night as though the collective voice of thousands could somehow change the reality of the doctor's words. On social media, timelines were flooded with messages of shock and grief. "The doctor's report is worse than I imagined. I can't stop crying. I thought they would tell us he was recovering. Instead, they told us he'll never walk again. My heart hurts so much." Boat in tears broke me completely. Their bond is everything. Broken heart, a family's pain. Inside the hospital, Oates' family clung to one another. His mother wept uncontrollably, his father trying to hold her up even as his own tears fell. His siblings looked stunned, whispering prayers and words of comfort to each other. The report ended hope, one relative admitted. "We prayed for a miracle, but the doctor told us the truth. Oates will live, but he will never stand on his own again." Video camera media captures the moment. Television networks replayed the footage of the press conference across every major channel, highlighting Boat's tears, the doctor's heavy words, and the sobbing fans outside. Headlines screamed tragedy, and anchors struggled to keep their voices steady while delivering the news. One broadcaster summed it up: "The doctor's report has confirmed the nightmare. Oates is alive, but he will never walk again." And in that hospital room tonight, we saw not just one man break, but an entire world of fans break with him. Milky Way, the long road ahead. Though the report brought sorrow, it also marked the beginning of a new chapter. Doctors emphasized that Oates' life is not in danger, and with the right rehabilitation, he can still continue his career in new ways. But the road will be long, filled with challenges, physical, emotional, and spiritual. For now, what remains is love. The love of his family, the loyalty of Boat, and the unwavering devotion of millions of fans who refuse to let him face this tragedy alone. And as dawn approaches, one truth becomes clear. Sparkling Heart Oates may have lost his ability to walk, but he has not lost his ability to inspire. And in the eyes of his fans, he has never stood taller. Oat breaks down after hearing doctor's report. Boat rushes to his side in tears. Police car's revolving light. The world had already been shaken by the doctor's official report confirming that Oat would never walk again. But inside the hospital walls, the tragedy grew even heavier when Oat himself was told the truth. What unfolded in his room was not just sadness, it was the raw unraveling of a young star's spirit, and the desperate attempt of his closest friend, Boat, to hold him together. Hospital, the doctor's words repeated. Doctors knew they could not keep the truth from Oat any longer. Late in the evening, the chief surgeon entered his private room, carrying the same report that had just been read to the public. Oat, lying weakly in his hospital bed, looked at him with wide, searching eyes. His family stood close, holding one another's hands. The doctor's voice was steady but soft. Oat, you survived something that should have taken your life. You are strong. You are alive. But I am so sorry. The accident damaged your lower body beyond repair. You will never walk again. At first, silence. Then Oat blinked rapidly, as if trying to push away the words. No, he whispered. No, that's not true. You're lying. Tell me you're lying. His mother sobbed beside him, clutching his hand. His father bowed his head, unable to speak. The doctor, tears in his own eyes, could only shake his head. Loudly crying face Oat's collapse into despair. Oat's breathing grew fast, shallow. His lips trembled. And then the dam broke. He screamed, a sound of anguish so piercing that nurses outside the room stopped in their tracks. Tears poured down his face as he thrashed weakly in the bed, hitting his fists against the sheets. Why me? He cried. Why did this happen to me? I can't walk, I can't sing on stage, I can't dance, I can't even live my life. Why did you save me if I can't live? The cries tore through the room, echoing against the sterile white walls. His family tried to hold him, but nothing could soothe the storm of grief that had just erupted. Broken heart, Boat enters the room. Hearing Oat's cries from down the hall, Boat ignored the nurses who urged him to rest. Still pale and weak from fainting earlier, he rushed into the room, his eyes already filled with tears. When he saw Oat breaking apart, Boat's own heart shattered. Without hesitation, he ran to his bedside, grabbed his trembling hands, and whispered fiercely through his sobs. Stop saying you can't live. You're alive, Oat. That's enough for me. Even if you can't walk, even if the world changes, I will never leave you. Do you hear me? Never. Oat looked at him through tears, his voice broken. Boat. I can't stand anymore. Boat pressed his forehead against Oat's hand and wept. Then lean on me. If you can't stand, I'll be your legs. If you can't walk, I'll walk for both of us. Don't you dare think you've lost everything. You still have me. You still have all of us. Globe showing Europe-Africa family and staff in tears. The scene was too much for anyone to bear. Oat's mother cried louder, repeating my son, as she stroked his hair. His siblings hugged one another tightly, their faces red with grief. Even hospital staff, hardened by years of dealing with tragedy, were seen wiping their eyes. One nurse whispered, I've seen patients cry before, but never like this. Never so much pain, and never so much love from the people around him. Mobile phone fans hear the rumors. News of Oat's breakdown quickly leaked through whispers from inside the hospital. Fans outside were told that Oat had cried for hours after hearing the report, and that Boat had rushed to his side in tears. The reaction outside was immediate, another wave of sobs, chants, and prayers. One fan live-streamed herself crying at the hospital gates, saying, hearing that he cried, that Boat cried with him, it's breaking us too. Oat, please hold on. Hashtags surged again across social media, #PrayForOat, #StayStrongBoat, and the newest, #YouAreNotAloneOat. Milky Way, an unimaginable night. The night that followed was unbearable. Inside, Oat cried until exhaustion pulled him into restless sleep, still clutching Boat's hand. Boat refused to leave his side, sitting in the chair beside his bed, his own tears flowing silently. His eyes never left Oat's face, as if guarding him from the darkness trying to consume him. Outside, fans kept singing, their voices carrying into the early hours of morning. The songs, the chants, The prayers, all of it was for Oat. All of it was for the boy who thought he had lost everything, and for the friend who refused to let him believe that. And as the world watched through their screens, one truth grew clearer. Sparkling Heart, this was not just Oat's fight. It was everyone's fight. And as long as Oat, his family, and his fans were there, Oat would never fight alone. Dawn after the darkness, Oat awakens to Boat's promise and the world's love sunrise. The longest night in recent memory finally gave way to morning. The hospital corridors, which had echoed with cries and prayers only hours earlier, were now hushed, as though the building itself had grown weary from carrying so much pain. Yet in one quiet room on the upper floor, the story of tragedy was beginning to shift toward something else, something tender, fragile, but undeniably alive. Person in bed, a sleepless vigil. Boat had not closed his eyes once. After Oat collapsed into an uneasy sleep, his tears staining the pillow, Boat sat rooted to the chair at his bedside. He held Oat's hand tightly, afraid to let go even for a moment. The faint beep of the monitors filled the silence, but Boat's heart beat louder, echoing with every memory he had shared with Oat. All through the night, he whispered to him, "I'm here. Don't forget that. You're not alone. You'll never be alone." Nurses came and went, quietly checking Oat's vitals, but no one dared to ask Boat to rest. They could see it in his eyes, the fierce determination of someone who would rather break himself than abandon the one he loved most. Sun with rays hashed the first rays of light. At dawn, pale sunlight slipped through the blinds, touching Oat's face gently, as though the world itself was trying to soothe him. His eyelids fluttered, heavy from tears and exhaustion, and slowly, he opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was Boat slumped forward, his hand still wrapped around Oat's, his face streaked with dried tears. For a moment, Oat simply stared, his heart aching with both sorrow and gratitude. His voice was hoarse when he whispered, "You didn't leave." Boat stirred instantly, lifting his head, eyes red but burning with devotion. "Leave? How could I? I told you, if you can't stand, I'll stand for you. If you can't walk, I'll walk for you. Nothing will ever make me leave." Oat's lips trembled. More tears threatened to fall, but this time, they were softer, quieter. "Boat, why do you still believe in me? I can't even believe in myself." Boat reached out, brushing the strands of hair from his forehead. His voice broke, but his words were steady, "Because you're still Oat. You're still the boy who smiled brighter than the sun, who sang like the world was made of music. That hasn't changed. Your legs don't define you. Your heart does. And that heart is still beating." Multiple musical notes, the sound outside. As if on cue, faint voices drifted through the hospital walls. At first, Oat thought he was imagining it, but then he realized, it was real. A chorus of voices, hundreds strong, maybe thousands, rising together in song. He looked toward the window, confusion clouding his tired face. Boat stood, moving to the blinds, and with a deep breath, pulled them open. What Oat saw stole the air from his lungs. The hospital gates were flooded with fans. They held banners painted with his name, posters with his smile, candles glowing even in the morning light. They were singing his songs back to him, their voices breaking, but steady, carrying love instead of despair. The chant rose next, "Oat, Oat. Stay strong, Oat." Tears blurred his vision instantly. They're all here, for me." Boat nodded, his own voice trembling. "For you. Always for you. They haven't stopped since last night. They're waiting for you to know you're not alone. Look at them, Oat. Look at how much you mean to the world." Broken heart, the moment of realization. Oat pressed a hand to his chest, his sobs returning, but they were different now. No longer the screams of despair, but the cries of someone overwhelmed by love, someone realizing he was more than his pain. "I thought I lost everything," he whispered through tears. "But I didn't. I still have you. I still have them." Boat took his hand again, squeezing firmly. "Exactly. You didn't lose. You survived. And now we'll find a new way forward together." Globe showing Europe, Africa, the world stands still. As news cameras captured the moment, footage of Oat looking out the window, eyes filled with tears, hand pressed against the glass, spread like wildfire online. Fans across the globe wept with him, typing messages of support. We see you, Oat. We're here. Forever. Your legs may not walk, but your heart runs through millions of us. Boat staying all night broke me. Their love is unshakable. Hashtags soared once again. #Oat strong, #Boat with Oat, and the most heartfelt of all, #You will never be alone. Sparkles a new beginning in the midst of pain. By the end of that morning, Oat was still broken, still scared, still mourning the life he once had. But for the first time since the accident, he felt something new stirring within him: hope. The road ahead would be cruel, yes. But he would not walk it alone. Boat had promised to carry him, his family would hold him, and his fans would be the endless chorus pushing him forward. As the camera zoomed in on his tear-streaked face, one could see it clearly. Sparkling heart Oat may never walk again, but he had already begun to rise.